So hey again, so this is just a follow-up to that last video about tab completion. So here I'm in R script again, and I kind of got to the bottom of that issue by going to Control H K and then tab, and so that's what it's so that's the help page for the tab key in Emacs, and so here it says tab runs the command ess indent or complete, which is an interactive compile list function. Right, it's bound to tab. When region is selected, indent the region. Otherwise, if this ess-tab-complete-in-script variable is non-nil, try to indent. If code is already indented, complete instead. So the default is ess-tab-complete-in-script is nil, right? So here the value is nil, so it's not going to try to complete even if there is nothing to indent. So if we want to have the tab key do completion in scripts, we can set this in our .emacs file, setq ess-tab-complete-in-script. Let's set it to anything non-nil. That's what it said that we could do. It's 1 now. And so now in our buffer, we should be able to use tab to get a completion, and indeed that does work, right? So in this, and it works in the same way as in the interactive buffer. So again, this is a script file. I can send the lines of code to the interactive command line buffer using Control-C, Control-N. But here I can also now get tab completion with by setting that option. So the reason why they don't have that by default is because tab also has another function in ESS, and that's doing the indentation. So for example, you have a big for loop for I in 1 to 1,000. Oops. And you have some if statement inside of that for loop, and then we're doing some function in here, whatever. So you see what I just did there? I pressed tab to de-indent the close of curly brace that I just made. So here, doing it again, if I type return, it's going to give me a indentation on the same line as that second level of indentation there as binomial test. But if I try to close it, actually, if I press return, I think it's going to do an indentation by itself. So, I mean, it has some pretty good handling of indentation by default, but if for whatever reason you have some messed up indentation, you can press tab and it's going to go back to the default level of indentation on that particular line. And in particular here, it's going to prefer to do that indentation before the completion. So here, it's going to first complete, but then if it doesn't have, sorry, it's going to first indent, but then if it doesn't have any indentation to do, it'll allow you to have the completion facility. So that's a demonstration of the tab key, which is for both indentation and completion. And in fact, you can indent many lines by doing a selection. So if you want to indent all 4 of these lines at once, you can use Control space to set the mark, Control N to select a few different lines moving down there, and then finally if you press tab, it's going to indent everything in that region. So notice that we haven't closed that parenthesis, so let's do that. I'm going to use Control R for reverse isearch, and I'm going to type a open parentheses to get back there, and then I'm going to type Control F to go forward 1 character. I'm going to type that close parentheses, And then I'm going to go Control N tab to re-indent those 2 lines. So one thing that you might be wondering about is the ESS indentation. You know, maybe you don't like the default indentation style, right? The default indentation style has these 4 lines. Maybe you like to have 2 lines instead. So I mean, there's a bunch of different indentation styles that you can use, and that's controlled by this variable called by this function called ess-set-style. So you can press Alt X and then type ess-set-style return, and then it's got a bunch of different choices, right? The default is own. You have BSD, C++, CLD, GNU, KNR, R plus, RStudio minus default. All of these things are different indentation styles. If you're familiar with using RStudio before this, you might try RStudio. So here I'm going to type RS. I'm going to hit enter, and it's now a different indentation style. And that will be evident when I press tab. Now it's going to indent to a different level here. There are 2 spaces instead of 4. Again, I can use Control space to set the mark. Maybe Control Shift Alt period to get all the way down there, then tab to indent the rest of that stuff. And so yeah, you can see how you can interactively change the ESS indentation style using that ESS set style function.